Peace and blessings, family. It is me, Coach 67 Sports TV. Shout out to the awesome and amazing LDBC, Lions Den Broadcasting Community. Shout out to the Louisiana All American Sports Network. And shout out to the greatest university in the world, the Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. This is episode 5 of HBCU Fanatics. Uh, Help me introduce my brother, my co-host for HBCU Fanatics, my brother Jared 11 Green. What's good with you, bro?
Man, I cannot complain, man. I'm glad we finally able to get another installment in of the HBCU Fanatics. Due to obligations and personal life be life, and we had to continue to push the show back, but we're here. Glad to be
Yeah,
here with
yeah, bro. I appreciate you being on, bro. And uh, you know, a few of my friends asked, like, man, hey, what happened to HBCU Fanatics? What happened to Bayou Sports Talk? Well, in terms of HBCU Fanatics, the reason why we don't do a show like consistently every single week is because the simple fact that, like my brother Jared 11 Green said, like, he has a life, I have a life. My work schedule, since I'm a teacher and a coach, it really don't align with his work schedule. So a lot of times it'd be hard for us to, get together on another show. We already do wire analysis every Saturday at 10 a.m. with our brother, who's the leader of this organization, 7 Sports TV. And we already do his show, the Southern Baller Show, typically we do it on Sundays at 3:30. Sometimes we push it back to 5, sometimes 7. Tonight is going to be at 7. But, we already do 2 shows every weekend. So it's hard to squeeze in an extra show in during the week at some other time. The only reason why we was able to do episode 4 several weeks back is because the high school game I was broadcasting for the Louisiana All American Sports Network. That particular game, it ended up ending early, because of some ninja activity. I'm just leave it at that. You know what I'm
you.
saying?
Right.
But our agenda for this particular episode is, first we're going to talk about the all SWAC teams briefly and quickly. Once I turn it over to my brother, we're going to talk about the all SWAC teams. Then we're going to give a real quick recap of the SWAC championship game. We're going to give a recap of the Celebration Bowl. And we're going to talk about the coaches fired and hired in the HBCU realm. And then lastly, we're going to talk about a little bit of transfer portal news and recruit news from a Southern University perspective, because, our key to the Jaguar Nation. Of course, I love the SWAC. I love all the HBCU football, but let's keep it 100. The core of my HBCU fan base is Southern University fans. I get a lot of people that's lately been seeing me in public, like, man, you got that show on YouTube, and I'm like, yes, sir. Because the usually is older guys, and they like, hey, man, I appreciate you. Uh, One day when I was voting for the mayor president of Baton Rouge, somebody, was talking to me about the SWAC championship game that particular day. Another day, I was in Walmart, not too far from home, and somebody recognized me there, and just a couple places when I'm out and about. A couple people recognized me, and it's been all love. So I appreciate everybody, that's been rocking with the channel. I appreciate all. Lately, I've been getting a nice little wave of new subscribers. So I appreciate all the new subscribers also that join via the Facebook group, whatever the case may be. But I'm gonna turn it over to my brother Jared 11 Green. The floor is yours, bro. Let's get it. Let's get it.
Hey, and Coach, I did not get the list. I got the list of the SWAC football postseason awards, but not the all SWAC team. So, for example, I got all-season player of the year was Irv Mulligan from Jackson State. Co-defensive player of the year was Kelby Givens
Shelby
from
Givens,
Southern,
yeah.
and co-defensive player of the year was Andrew Jones from Grambling State. Newcomer of the year was Daniel Richardson, the quarterback. He played decent quarterback for Florida A&M,
Uh-huh.
and special teamer and a young wide receiver. uh, Travis Terrell Jr. from Jackson State, freshman of the year.
All right, hold on. Let me put it up real quick, bro. Uh, in
I'm
fact,
trying to beat you to it.
all right. In fact, look, this what I'm let's uh let's hit everything while we're going over real quick. Like you said, all SWAC first team offense. We got quarterback Daniel Richardson from FAMU, running back Irv Mulligan from Jackson State, running back Donovan Eaglin from Alabama A&M, offensive lineman Carson Vincent from Alabama A&M. Let's see. Uh, let's see. Offensive lineman Aurelius Dunn from Alabama State. Offensive lineman DeAndre Towns Blue from Jackson State. Offensive lineman Charles Davis from FAMU. Offensive lineman Ashton Grable from FAMU. Wide receiver Giovanni Gibson from Arkansas Pine Bluff. That boy was a fool. Wide receiver Nathan Rembrandt from Mississippi Valley. And tight end Tavarius Truck Griffin from Alcorn State. I'm gonna give a real quick shout out to my brother uh, Doc Holliday from HBCU Overdrive. When we went over on his show on HBCU Overdrive, he had an issue with Truck being uh, the first team all SWAC tight end because in his mind, Truck is more of a multi-positional player. Just to kind of give you an example, I don't know if you remember when Southern played against Alcorn State for homecoming, right? The
Mm-hmm.
guy that made the 65-yard run was Truck. So Truck not only plays tight end, but he also plays running back. He plays like multiple positions on the offensive side of the ball. He felt like Jackson State tight end should have been first team, first team all SWAC. What are your thoughts on like when you having these satellite players, satellite type players? We used to call them satellites in terms of you can move them all over the place. We used to call them jokers. You can move them, because they're wild cards. Maybe like a Reggie Bush type player, Alvin Kamara, those type of players. What you think about somebody like Truck being on the first team, even though he kind of plays multiple positions and he's kind of positionless at certain points. What do you think about somebody like that being on the first team?
Well, I mean, you have to go with your boy if we're gonna talk about them gadget players. That's how I call them. Your boy Taysom Hill from the Saints. You know what I mean? He's very valuable. You know, so I mean, me personally, I don't mind. I love it because let's say if you need a play where you need a fullback and you need a fullback for the I formation, you can put Truck in that position to do so. So I mean, it depends on how you look at it.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think just what Doc was saying was the fact that he felt like Truck was more of a, like you say, like a Taysom Hill type in terms of he can play multiple positions. He has a high degree of utility and versatility, and you can move him all over the place. But he felt like, he probably shouldn't have been on the first team. All right, now in terms of first team on defense, of course, co-defensive player of the year, Kelvin Gibbons from Southern. Defensive lineman, Traquan Thomas, Alabama State. Defensive lineman, Malachi Bailey. Oh, my goodness. When Alcorn State came to AW Mumford for homecoming, I heard Malachi like 1,000 times. I'm like, dang, they love him. Anyway, defensive lineman Joshua Nobles from Jackson State. Linebacker Andrew Jones from Grambling State. He was a dog, him in the classic. Linebacker Rico Doles from Alabama State. Linebacker DeMarcus Cunningham from Alabama State. Defensive back James Burgess from Alabama State. Defensive back Amon Scarborough from Alabama State. Defensive back Kevick Wiggins Jr. from Jackson State. And defensive back M.J. Henson from Texas Southern. In terms of the specialists, all SWAC first special teams, place kicker Gilmiro Garcia Rodriguez from Purview, punter Anthony Frederick from Bethune-Cookman, return specialist from Jackson State, Travis Terrell Jr. He also played running back. Long snapper Avery Severino, Jackson State. So that's first team all SWAC. And like you said, in terms of the SWAC coach of the year, we know was TC Taylor. SWAC offensive player of the year was Irv Mulligan. You know what I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir.
So what are your thoughts on real quick on the first all SWAC team?
Man, I'm gonna go because I seen Malachi Bailey in action. Wasn't my eyes wasn't on Alcorn State like that, but last year when I saw him, number 44 was all over the place,
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
he continued to do the same thing. Even though Alcorn didn't have the season that they wanted, but he continued to have consistency on being wreaking havoc in the backfield. So I'm not surprised Malachi players like Malachi Bailey or uh, Keverick Wiggins Jr. from Jackson State. Um, uh, Very good defensive. In my opinion, was the best defensive back, one of the defensive backs that JSU had or Jackson State had. So I like it, man. Um,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and,
Big,
and,
big.
and, go, and going back to the truck Griffin, man. I mean, people trying to say that or that individual you were saying that saying
Doc Holiday, for y'all individuals, of course he got like over 2K subs. In fact, he lived in Dallas. He graduated from Jackson State, HBC Overdrive. The
right.
link in the chat for y'all individuals that want to go check out Doc Holiday. Uh, he went to the SWAC championship game. We were supposed to do a follow-up show after the SWAC championship game, but his schedule, since he in retail and my schedule, since I'm a coach and I'm a teacher, like schedules didn't line up. That's why we couldn't do the follow-up show. But I'm sure we're gonna get together at some point. You know what I'm saying? Well, like I said, you got to realize he's a Jackson State fan. He felt like Jackson State's tight end was more of a traditional tight end, whereas Truck was more of a, like you said, utility gadget player that you can move all over the place. He didn't say like Truck wasn't deserving of being on the all SWAC team.
Oh, he just wanted
He
his guy.
felt,
Okay, because I was about
yeah,
to say
yeah,
you
yeah.
can't fault him for that because he
Oh
played
no, no,
that
no, no,
game.
no, 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 no.
You
I'm
played.
not gonna lie. He gave Truck praise. He gave Truck props, but he was felt like, of course, you a J State guy. You gonna rock with J State.
Right.
So he felt like Jackson State tight end is more of a just a straight line traditional tight end, and he felt like either you could have moved Truck to the second team, or you could uh you can move Truck to the second team, or you could have like a special category for utility type guys. You know what I'm saying? So you
Yeah,
know,
but I wasn't as far as going after Doc Holliday about his opinion. I was just saying as far as the type of player Truck Griffin is, you really can't fault him for that. Because like he did the same thing in high school. He played quarterback, he played running back, tight end, middle linebacker in high school. So he was a gadget player in high school. So
yeah, yeah, yeah.
when he was recruited to Alcorn, he already has that in his DNA as far as ball. So they put him
Yeah,
at
yeah,
tight end, and his official, and I'm doing a quotation mark. His official position is tight end, but he's gifted in other positions. So
yeah, yeah, yeah. And that's the thing about it. It's good dialogue, it's good discussion. I can
mhm.
see it from both sides. I can see it from your side, like, hey, he a gadget, Taysom Hill type player, or as I could say, Doc. Like I say, it was up to Doc. I'm not saying across the board. He gave players like Kelvin Givens, they props, this, that, and the third. But he a J State guy, so we pushing for his J State guys. You know what I'm saying? And it is what it is. All right. In terms of moving to the All SWAC second team, quarterback Jacobian Morgan from Jackson State. Of course, it was a little bit of controversy for some people. Once he got hurt in the in the SWAC championship game, his McDonald came in Some people thought, Zai should have took his spot. That's another story. Running back, Jacorian Sewell, Alcorn State. Running back, Dennis Palmer, Bethune-Cookman. Offensive lineman, Ronald Brown, Alcorn State. Offensive lineman, Desmond Daniels, Alabama State. Offensive lineman, Christian Love, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Offensive lineman, Evan Henry, Jackson State. Offensive lineman, Kirk Ford Jr., Jackson State. Wide receiver, Keenan Hambrick, Alabama A&M. Wide receiver, Jamari Gasket from FAMU. That boy was a dog.
Mm-hmm.
And tight end, Kobe Gross from FAMU.
Kobe Gross
Uh,
was a good security blanket for Richardson.
yeah. All SWAC second team defense, defensive lineman, James Ash, FAMU. Defensive lineman, Keelan Cox, Texas Southern. Defensive lineman, Dorian Wesley, Alabama A&M. Defensive lineman, Jaden Hardy, Grambling State. Linebacker, Cortez Andrews, Alabama A&M. Linebacker, Stamorian Edwards, Alcorn State. Linebacker, Jaden Kelly, Arkansas Pine Bluff. Defensive back, Delvin Gully, Alabama A&M. Defensive back, Kenneth Lewis, Alabama State. Defensive back, Kendall Bowler, AMU. Defensive back, uh, uh, Edwin Summerall, Alcorn
Summerall,
State.
yeah.
Uh,
And there's some little back and forth going on between Kendall Bowler not being first team defensive back. But in my opinion, not saying Kendall Bowler is a dog, but in my opinion, bro, he's not beating out the Wiggins and what was the boy from Alabama State? I just had him up. Hold on, James Burgess. Burgess and Kevin Wiggins are doing they balled out. And Amon
yeah,
Scarborough from Alabama State as well. Them three young brothers, they balled out, man. So I
and
don't, I don't
salute,
think that outbeat their you're replacing them with Boulder, in my opinion.
salute to the brother Adrian Crook. Man, salute, bro. We appreciate you dropping in, always showing love. Salute to Relaxing Calm Rain and Motivation to Be a Millionaire. Always showing constant support. We appreciate everybody for coming through and showing some love. Of
Appreciate
course,
it.
Doc and I had similar conversation in terms of who, from a defensive back standpoint, who should have made it, who shouldn't have made it. And truthfully speaking, he kind of real quick while we was on look up some of the stats, and he was like, "Yeah, man, I see why this dude made it. This dude made it." So yeah, so he pretty much said the same thing. Like, "Hey, you really can't. You guys on the first team, you really can't knock any of them off all of it." Uh,
Right.
uh, Let me see. All SWAC special teams, second team, plays kicker, Gerardo, uh, Bazia, Jackson State, Connor McNoll, Jackson State, return specialist Darnell Diaz, Bethune-Cookman, and long snapper Clayton Thomas Jr. from Bethune-Cookman. Uh, it Anybody you felt like got snubbed, it could have been on first team or second team or whatever the case may be. Anybody you think just got snubbed overall?
No, man. I think this list is pretty fair. You know, I don't have nothing, no debates or nothing to nitpick about this group.
Of course, members of Jaguar Nation, they felt like free safety Herman Brewster the third. They felt like he should have been on one of the all SWAC teams for certain. Also, they felt like I think it's questionable. Some of them felt like defensive end Darius Harry maybe could have been on it. Me personally, I kind of felt like Darius Harry. He kind of did a lot of his damage by feeding off of Kelvin Gibbons. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying he wasn't a good defensive end, but I felt like in a vacuum, if you put another defensive end opposite Darius Harry, I don't think he's doing the same kind of damage. It's no slight thing. I felt like he was rock solid, but that's my personal opinion. Of course, Herman Bristol III was a dog, but I don't know if you can knock any of those defensive backs off.
Yeah.
And then also they talked about Southern linebacker Vincent Page. I'm like, I think he's solid, but it ain't like he like a Vincent Lance or Kenya, a Jimmy Collins, a Kenyon Rounds, or a Channing Warner, Chris Cooper. I don't think he kind of in that realm of Southern University linebackers to demand like a spot on all SWAC teams. Of course, also they talked about deep snapper for Southern Braxton Blackwell. I think he kind of had a drop off this year, in my opinion. And of course, Southern University kicker Joshua Griffin. He has NFL leg strength, but he's not always accurate and he's very inconsistent. So hopefully, of course, Braxton Blackwell and Joshua Griffin, they both declared for the NFL draft. So I wish both of them well in their future endeavors. But in terms of these are the guys that members of Jaguar Nation felt like should have been on the all SWAC team. I think probably for the exception of Kelby Givens, who, was cool, SWAC Defensive Player of the Year. I think the only person you really could say, hey, maybe this guy should have been, I think he had the strongest case for, and he didn't make it. I think it's Herman Bristol III, but really outside of that, like I think some of those guys, a little bit of a reach, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, man. And like I said, man, I have nothing to nitpick about this group, first team or second team.
Yeah, and also, of course, we talked about Irv Mulligan being SWAC offense. Well, TC Taylor being the SWAC coach of the year. To me, I'm not gonna lie, you really can't argue with that. Jackson State kind of, it's probably the best season I saw, from a SWAC team in a long time. So you got to give TC Taylor credit. He put together.
You got to. You a hater if you can't if you don't. You
Yeah.
got to, man.
Uh, so not only that, but also Irv Mulligan was a SWAC Offensive Player of the Year. You kind of always been high on Irv Mulligan.
Yes. Yes. Soon as I saw his tape from Wofford, how he runs like somebody knocks his drink out his hand and said they're not gonna pay for it. That's how he run, man. Like he just run angry, and if you hit him a good time, man, he coming with it. He's consistent. So I'm not surprised by Irv Mulligan. Like you said, man, I've been high on this dude, since he was recruited. Um, a little after Dion left, so I am not surprised.
Yeah, and that's one thing you and I talked about. We talked about this prior to the season, and of course, being a member of Jaguar Nation, Kendrick Grimes is my guy, but I felt like Irv Mulligan should have been first team or preseason on SWAC. And the irony of the situation is, I think had Kendrick Grimes got more touches instead of Coach Terrence Graves going like with the three-headed monster like back by committee between Kobe Dillon, who just entered the transfer portal recently, Kendrick Grimes and C.J. Russell. Truthfully speaking, I think Kendrick Grimes would have made an all SWAC team, but I felt like first team Irv Mulligan should have made it, but they say he didn't get at least 75% of the snaps. I think that's a rule that the SWAC committee needs to reconsider in terms of you're not getting a certain percentage of the snaps. To me, if you're good enough, you're good enough to make the preseason team. That's just my personal opinion. And of course, when it came to defensive player of the year, of course, my guy from Southern University, Kelby Givens, was named the co-defensive player of the year, along with Family State's Andrew Jones. And this is one thing that Doc and we had an extensive conversation in terms of like, because me, I'm not gonna lie, I love the SWAC, but of course, I'm real hard on the trash officiating. We're gonna talk about that later on in the show. But sometimes SWAC do stupid things, like for example, preseason all SWAC, first and second team, they only had 9 offensive linemen. I'm like, come on, bro. Y'all mean tell me y'all couldn't come up with one more offensive lineman? Like, how stupid is that? I feel like things like that, it makes the SWAC look bad. So I felt like based on stuff like that, like, should the SWAC have come up with just a rock solid, just one SWAC defensive player of the year? And I'm not gonna lie, Doc and I had extensive conversation, and he was like, Coach, I'm not gonna lie, like both of them really worthy of it and deserving of it. Uh, Basically, he felt like Andrew Jones was more of a tackling machine, and Kelvin Gibbons was more of a disruptive force in terms of always wreaking havoc. He led the SWAC in terms of tackles for loss, tackles behind the line of scrimmage. So he was like, Coach, really, both of them worthy of it. If you had to pick one, you kind of go either one. But in all actuality, both of them was worthy of it. That's why he felt like the co-defensive player of the year was fitting. And the fact that Doc said it, I was like, all right, I can rock with that. You know what I'm saying? So, we ended up coming to a consensus. We was in agreement after the fact. So, that's the all SWAC teams. Next, a real quick recap of the SWAC championship game. Before the season started, a lot of people thought I was crazy. I picked Jackson State because, a lot of people was picking FAMU, and some people backed off of FAMU from the standpoint of Willie Simmons left, and they lost some of the recruits that they had. And a lot of people was picking Alabama State. Don't get me wrong, Alabama State had a good defense. Offensively, Alabama State struggles at times. And the fact that they got Andrew Body in the transfer portal, they felt like, okay, the fact that they have Andrew Body is going to put them over the top. And I'm like, look, Andrew Body hasn't shown that he can stay healthy. If he can stay healthy, cool. But I'm going with J State. I picked J State from the East, and from the West, I picked Southern. A lot of people like, man, Southern, and I'm like, look, bro. First of all, the SWAC West is wide open. There's no dominant team.
West, yep.
Yeah, there's no dominant team in years past. Like, there's certain years that Grambling was head and shoulders above everybody else. You might have certain years Southern, Alcorn State, Purview. I felt like there was no team in the West that was head and shoulders above everybody else. So I'm like, all right, hey, the West wide open. And I say this then. I say Southern has more talent than people give them credit for having. So that's the reason why I picked Jackson State Southern. And of course, I'm like, I think Jackson State will be the favorite, but I think Southern some kind of way will pull upset. And I'm not gonna lie, at certain points during the course of the season, I didn't think Southern was gonna make it there because the way they looked the first week against McNeese State, I wasn't thrilled. And of course, the beatdown they got by Nickel State at home. When you consider, like, literally where I'm from, where I'm at now, I'm closer to Nickel State than I am Southern University. You know what I'm saying? So for me, I really can't stand Nickel State, and the fact that they came to A.W. Mumford and they just beat Southern down, and they ended up underachieving, and Southern ended up overachieving after that night. So that's why I picked the two teams that I picked to be in the SWAC championship game at the beginning of the season. But for the SWAC championship game itself, of course, starting Southern University quarterback Jalen Woods, he got a concussion the week before in the Bayou Classic, so he couldn't start. So Scotlandville High product, Xavier ZT Set, who started the first time they played, he got the start. He struggled early. They punted the ball. J State ended up going up 3-0. And Southern ended up going on. And Southern ended up eventually taking the lead 10-0. And I think the thing that kind of threw Jackson State off, a lot of people saying that they felt like Jackson State was prepared for Jalen Woods. And I think that might have been the case. But I think the thing that kind of threw Jackson State off a little bit was the fact that Mark Frederick, offensively, early in the game, he kind of deviated from what he normally does. He threw the ball more than he would normally throw it. And not only that, of course, Zay had some runs. I didn't like him running the ball as much as he did early in the game. But I think the thing about it was the fact that he kind of deviated from his normal strategy. And I think the thing that kind of let the game get away was when they were up 10-3 and they had the ball like right around midfield. Instead of him continue to be aggressive and keep his foot on the gas and throw the ball more, he kind of went back to what he normally does. And once J State caught up to that, it was a wrap offensively. And then defensively, Jacoby and Morgan got hurt. Zach McDonald came in the game. J State tied the game before half time. And then after that, it was kind of off to the races. Uh, Second half, J State went down and he scored. And then Southern University senior who entered the transfer portal recently also, Tyler Kirkwood, he was stripped, he fumbled. J State ended up scoring after that, and eventually they just ended up going on the route Southern. So, what are your overall thoughts of just real quick review of the SWAC championship, man? What was your overall thoughts? We talked in the group chat like all day the game, with our Southern Baller Show crew. We just talked about it.
Yeah, we definitely talk about it on Southern Baller Show. You know what I didn't like? I didn't like how they pulled the young man T set. So to replace him with Noah Biden, I would have, even though he was struggling, I feel like T set is a better passer, to a certain extent, and he's more mobile. He can run. He can give you an advantage with running as a running quarterback as well. Versus Noah Biden, he's more of a pocket passer with a little bit of, athleticism, but not as much as the young man T said. So I didn't like um, the coach pulling T set so early from the game.
Yeah, and it's the crazy thing about it. When he pulled him, you know, it it was kind of clear that that they were behind and needed to get back in the game, and they was going vertical. So you can kind of see that he got the memo, like, hey, we need to be more aggressive. We need to throw the ball down the field. And it wasn't like he was playing terrible, but he threw an interception the previous drive. Then the next drive, you put Noah in, and I'm like, oh yeah,
And
you can
here's
stick
the
a fork in
thing,
his mouth.
coach. If you look at the stats, man, no quarterback on both sides had an amazing game. When Zion
No,
McDonald was throwing on Jackson State, he threw an interception. Jacoby and Morgan was playing a horrible game. The only thing that gave them like a shot in the arm as far as Jackson State when Zion McDonald started, pulling the ball and running, and y'all didn't have an answer for that. And of course, on
yeah,
top of that, Irv Mulligan. And then Travis Terrell Jr. started eating y'all up
yeah,
for
yeah,
chunks
yeah,
of yards. So, but Southern's defense was hanging in there. It's just the offense could not be as like you said wasn't
consistent.
consistent.
Yeah,
Which at by that time, especially in the second half, defense was tired and they couldn't stop the running game.
yeah, and,
So
and and the irony of it is, bro, that's been a story like literally for the last literally 2 years. Like all this season, that's been a story. And all last season, when Eric Dooley is the head coach and offensive coordinator, that was a story also. So at the end of the day, I think Southern defensively, they I think they rock solid. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the issue is you have a lot of seniors on the defense. Like if you look at the defensive line, Kelby Givens, the swag defensive player of the year, he a junior. But you go next to him with Willie Miles from Scotlandville High. He a senior, he graduated. Then you got Davin Cotton who transferred from LSU. He a senior, he gone. And then you got the defensive end opposite of him, Darius Harry. He's a senior, he gone. So you got to replace three players on the defensive line. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, Southern got a lot of seniors on the defensive side of the ball, but I think that you know this year's show, like even last year, you had some holes with people that were leaving because they were seniors, like Taj Brown. But for whatever reason, Southern always find a way to fill those holes defensively, and they have a rock solid defense for the last couple of years. But offensively is the side of the ball where they struggle. Now, early from a recruit standpoint, like they seem to be looking and targeting. And, they got a couple commits from a couple huge offensive linemen, but they just don't have the kind of game breakers and playmakers that they had years
Yeah, we
past.
talked about this. If they can get
Yeah,
a
yeah,
couple, more than a couple of speedy wide receivers and a handful of big body wide receivers, man, y'all be straight.
yeah,
But
and like you, and
you gotta
like you
have
said,
somebody to throw it to, though.
yeah,
Throw
yeah,
them the
yeah.
ball, though.
Well, I'm not gonna lie. I think of course, for the individuals that don't Noah Biden entered the transfer portal. I'm not gonna lie, he never lit the world on fire while he was at Southern this year nor last year. Uh, Now ZT said he didn't turn the corner like he should have
That
at the start.
surprised me.
Yeah, that
That
surprised me too
surprised me.
because if you'd have told me, hey, he going to Grambling because Miles Crawley, Grambling's quarterback who was preseason all SWAC offensive player of the year, he's entering the NFL draft. To me, that's if he doesn't have no more eligibility left, cool. But he's not as good as Devontae Kincaid. He's not as good as Bruce Eugene. He's not as good as Randy Himes. If he has any eligibility, yeah, look, his behind needs to stay at Grambling. And I'm just being completely honest and just blunt about the situation. So if you told me Zay was going to maybe somewhere like Grambling or maybe even another SWAC school, cool. But from what I'm hearing, like word on the curb is like Rich Rod ended up getting the job back at West Virginia. He going back home. And supposedly, like, he's supposed to be going to West Virginia. And I'm like, dude, he does not fit the prototypical West Virginia quarterback. He is not Pat White. He might be left-handed like Pat White, but he's not Pat White from an athletic standpoint.
Right.
So hopefully there's just rumor and innuendo. But if he goes to West Virginia, I mean, don't get me wrong. No matter where these players go, I wish them well. But and really outside of Zay, like most of these players, like Tyler Kirkwood and like Kobe Dillon, these players that entered the transfer portal, they've been at Southern for 4 years. And, I don't know if you know, well, first I saw this new rule for the NCAA. If a player goes to JC and then they go to a 4-year institution, I didn't know this, bro. Like literally, they get all 4 years of eligibility, even if they played at the JC for a year or two. I'm like, man, that's
Yeah.
crazy right there. That's
Yeah.
crazy. But somebody like Kobe Dillon, he's been at Southern 4 years. He's graduated. I didn't know he must have got those. Kobe Dillon has been hurt a lot. Like in high school, he played quarterback. So Kobe Dillon has been hurt a lot, and he must have got red shirted those 2 years. He was out for most of the year, or whatever. So he has 2 years of eligibility left. So the reason why he had to enter the portal is because he's been at Southern 4 years. He has no eligibility left at Southern. He has to go somewhere else. Alcorn State has offered him already. So maybe he goes to Alcorn State. I mean, no matter where you go, like I wish all of them well, but for the most part, a lot of these players at Southern that enter the transfer portal, they've graduated and they have been at Southern for 4 years, so they have no more eligibility left at Southern. They have to go elsewhere to get a scholarship.
Yeah, man. I like you said, I wish the young man, uh, these young men the best, but I don't want them to get stuck in the portal or end up,
Yeah, and you and I have had this conversation a bunch with the Bashawn McCray situation.
yeah,
Uh, once I mean the damage was already done. I think had Glenn above McDaniel started in that SWAC championship game in 2022 against J State. I know a lot of J State fans be like, "Oh, J State still was gonna win." I disagree. I think Southern would have beat GSU if Glenn above McDaniel would have started from the beginning of the game. But they ended up winning, and basically the coaching staff told him he had to change positions, and he was like, "Nah, he transferring," because his older brother Benny McCray had already graduated because Benny was a senior, but Sean was a sophomore, if I'm not mistaken. He entered the portal and he didn't land anywhere. Dawson Odom showed some interest in it, but Norfolk State was the only team that showed interest in it. And that ended up being it, you know what I'm saying? So he didn't end up landing anywhere. But I wish him all well. I think the only one that really shocked me was Xavier and ZT Sip entering the portal. I didn't see it. I felt like,
yeah, man. And not to interrupt you, man. I just felt like that young man can grow in y'all system.
yeah,
I
big
feel
time.
like y'all can give him the keys to the offense, and he'll do well. with more reps and time, man. It shocked me, and it cannot be. I don't have no proof, and this is just going off of um my instincts or what I think has happened, just giving my observation. Of course, it's not the truth, the 100% facts, but I believe that he was upset for being benched, and that's why he jumped in the
No,
portal.
well, I'm gonna tell you what I heard.
Correct me,
I'm,
yeah, because
I'm,
you
gonna
more
keep,
have
I'm,
more. That's just
yeah,
my thoughts.
I'm gonna keep it real now. Don't get me wrong. Just like for example, like somebody had told me like at one point that Marshall Falk was supposed to be the head coach instead of Eric Dooley, but when he had the scandal at the NFL Network, that kind of fell through. Nobody has been able to confirm or deny that rumor, but that was then. But for now, from what I understood, that now there's speculation now. They felt like when they had the exit interviews or whatever, Coach Graves probably told him like, "Hey, Jalen Wood's gonna be the guy going into the spring in terms of the starter. You probably gonna be the backup." And maybe he wasn't cool with that, and he entered the portal. And from what I'm understanding, also there's this quarterback at UAPB. No, I'm sorry, UAB, not Arkansas Pine Bluff, but UAB, and they offered him a scholarship also. Me personally, I felt like if you got a guy maybe coming from like a Power Five that maybe has like 1 year eligibility of like maybe like a, I wouldn't want him, but just to use the example, former LSU quarterback TJ Finley, he committed to Tulane. He has 1 year eligibility left. If you had a
Hmm.
quarterback that was more athletic, but like him, that had 1 year eligibility left, I felt like he'd be a perfect fit with Jalen Woods, who's going to be a redshirt sophomore, and Angelo Izzo Jr., who's going to be a redshirt sophomore, who played at Southern Lab. I think if you put like the three of them together, quarterback similar to TJ Finley, but more athletic, that maybe went to LSU or a Power Five, I think that trio of quarterbacks would be good, and you still would have, you know, Woods, who's going to be the starter going into the spring, and Izzo, who's going to be the backup. But now things are kind of up in the air. But more than like, but of course, based on this season, Woods was clear cut the guy to me anyway. I think Zay was more athletic. I think Woods was more cerebral. He got rid of the ball quicker. He made the right reads. So maybe, maybe he just felt like the writing was on the wall. I mean, I don't know. But from your perspective, let's get a real quick recap of the SWAC championship game, and then we're just gonna keep it pushing to the next topic.
Yeah, just real
I'm,
fast so
I'm
we can
sorry, I
move.
mean the Celebration Bowl. I'm sorry,
Okay,
Celebration Bowl.
the Celebration Bowl, no problem. So basically, uh, and I talked about this off scenes, man. Those who don't know, the head coach Kenneth Berry for South Carolina State Bulldogs, he's a damn good coach. He came from Benedict College, a Division II HBCU in South Carolina, and he was got hired on at South Carolina State, as you all know, and he brought a lot of his players from Benedict. I mean, a lot uh, to South Carolina State, like Eric Phoenix, who had a very good year. Um, he was a quarterback at Benedict, so a lot of them Division II guys, man, played damn good ball in the MEAC, man. So, in my opinion, it looked like they were playing down, like they were playing Division II ball,
Yeah,
and Jackson State was playing, big boy FCS ball. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
and it surprised me because they were playing so all year. They beat the Citadel. I watched that game, and I was impressed. And I mean, they played a lot of good games, man. And it just that Jackson State did what I thought South Carolina State was going to do to Jackson State. Be honest with you, you know how I like Irv Mulligan, but I actually picked South Carolina State to win by like a touchdown or two. Um, but JSU made me eat crow.
Yeah, yeah. And I ain't gonna lie, of course, I'm a swag guy, and I'll pick J State. And I'm not gonna lie, in this swag group that I'm in, somebody asked, some of the J State fans and some just people in general ask, who's the better swag coach? Deion Sanders, TC Taylor. And I'm not gonna lie, I think it's clear cut at this point. It's clearly TC Taylor
Absolutely, absolutely.
because because
That's
if
not
you
even a question or a
yeah
debate.
because if you look at the areas where Jackson State was lacking when Deion Sanders was the head coach, the first year they really didn't have the skill players. Then the next year they brought in all the skill players they needed, but they lacked up front on the offensive line and defensive line. I think defensively they covered it up by blitzing so much and going a lot of cover zero and doing a lot of casino blitzing and so on and so forth. But North Carolina Central exposed them the next year in the SWAC championship game. And that was the disadvantage when he was the head coach. Whereas up front on both sides of the ball was kind of where, I mean, of course, they got the skill players too, but like they dominated up front on both sides of the ball. And I'm thinking to myself, man, like Jackson State is just manhandling South Carolina State. And at no point did I ever think, like, I knew Jackson State was going to win, but I didn't think it was going to be as impressive as it was.
Yeah,
And not
yeah.
only that, truthfully speaking, I'm thinking to myself, man, they kind of made it look easier than I thought they would, truthfully speaking. So at the end of the day, you got to give TC Taylor credit. They went in and they handled business. And I'm not gonna lie, this is one of the best HBCU and SWAC seasons a team has had in a long time. And just to kind of put a bow on it for the final HBCU power rankings to end the season, of course, Jackson State ended up being number one, winning the HBCU National Championship. Tennessee State number two, South Carolina State number three, North Carolina Central number four, number five, D Southern University, home of the mighty Jaguars. Number six, Alcorn State. Number seven, Texas Southern. Number eight, Alabama State. Number nine, Prairie View. And number 10, FAMU. And breaking news, former Blazer head coach Tremaine Jackson takes the head coaching position at Prairie View. So he's left Virginia State Trailblazers, and he's become the new head coach at Prairie View. So congratulations to Coach Tremaine Jackson becoming
Congrats, man.
becoming the new head coach at Prairie View. Uh, I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see if he can make a dent in the Prairie View program. Of course, like I said, if you'd have told me Prairie View would be a highly sought after job, because I remember at one point they were like 6-6 or whatever. I mean, 0-66 or whatever. They hadn't won an HBCU football game in a long time. And then Coach Frazier, he took that program and he won a SWAC championship. Pete Richardson last year, he came to AW and beat Pete, and that pretty much was the end for Pete. And I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's a program that's highly sought after because, they got nice facilities and, just where they located at in Texas, people, people really won't go to that program. So it's going to be interesting to see what he could do. I'm not even going to lie, like the last couple of years, PV fans been calling for Coach McDowell's job. I really didn't see it, but I mean, it is what it is. And of course, you and I, we talked about it behind the scenes. We talked about it on Doc Holliday's show. Coach Manor, he got let go at Alabama A&M. Who else? Coach Wade got let go at Valley. Who else? Coach
Odom
McDowell.
Dawson's.
Yeah, Dawson Odom got let go at Norfolk State. They ended up
Hmm.
hiring Mike Dick. Uh,
That's gonna
from
be
Atlanta.
interesting, man.
Yeah, that's going to be extremely interesting. I think a lot of schools trying to make the splash higher to have the Deion Sanders type effect, but I don't know. I don't know if that's gonna work, but I mean we'll see. I wish him well too.
Yeah,
Uh,
if it's and I want to say this before you go into depth as far as the coaches hired and fired. The Michael Vick situation. If we're gauging his situation based on how he coaches and how he tries to resurrect that Norfolk State program, good. Please don't bring up the dog fighting incident. He did the time. He paid for it.
bro,
You know, let it go. And
bro,
y'all know who I'm talking about. Let
bro,
it go.
I kid you not. At work,
Let the man live. Cause
hey,
some of y'all did 10 times worse. Y'all just didn't get caught. Let it go.
yeah, hey, bro, I kid you not, bro. One of my coworkers at work, the head coach for the football team, and I'm assistant coach. He was saying the same thing. He was like, hey, like he had the dog situation. I'm surprised they hired him. And he said not only that, but he went to Virginia Tech. He didn't go to Norfolk State. Well, I'm like, well, he from that area. He was like, well, hey, if he want to be a head coach, let him go to Virginia Tech. And he was like, not only that, but he was like, if he does well in Norfolk State, Virginia Tech gonna come calling. I said, well, it is what it is, But I mean, he has to get to that point, you know. Even Eddie George. I mean, Eddie George had to kind of brick by brick had to build a Tennessee State program. He didn't
Tennessee State
start
is
it.
very competitive. Yeah, he's
Yeah,
doing
yeah,
a good
yeah.
job over there.
Yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see. I mean, like I said, Coach Manning got let go at Alabama. McDowell got let go at PV, and Coach Jermaine Jackson just got the job. Dawson Owens got let go at Norfolk State. Mike Dick ended up getting that job. Uh, so it's gonna be. Not only this, but Doc and I was talking about it at the time. He didn't see he didn't see he didn't see Mike Vick getting the Norfolk job. But he thought Coach Wade was gonna be safe. What are your thoughts on Coach Wade ended up getting let go by Valley, bro?
I disagree with it. I definitely disagree with it, man. That shocked me, man. Like the gentleman just got there. He just got there. What? He only had 2 seasons.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah,
so get him some time to get his people continue to get build that program. You need at least 3 or 4 years. That fourth year, if you're not seeing any traction, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna lie. Dawson Odoms, I believe that was long enough
yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
try, and that I don't think that's necessarily on Dawson Odoms. That's just that's just a situation. But
Uh-huh.
um, and I like Coach Kendrick Wade, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He could have stayed over there at Delta State or Delta, and which is a decent Division II program that's up and coming,
Uh-huh.
and he could have continued to stay there because it was a good situation, but
Yeah,
he decided to take on the challenge. So a gentleman like that, man, you want to keep around for a little bit longer. You know what I mean, to see if there's any growth.
yeah.
I just think they didn't give him enough time. Long
Yeah,
story short.
Adrian Crook asked how long was his contract at Valley.
Not long enough.
Yeah, because he said it seemed like he was just in place until they got whom they
It does
wanted.
seem like that, Adrian.
But
It does seem like that, but
but
still.
but this the thing about it though, bro. We talked about how people really covet the FAMU job, bro. Mississippi Valley's on the opposite end of the spectrum. Like, you know, unless they're gonna get Willie Totten from Southern to be the next head coach at Mississippi Valley. Bro, ain't nobody beating on the doors to go to Valley, bro. I kid you not, bro. This how like undesirable that particular job is. I hate to say it, I'm just being honest.
It
Like
is what it is, man.
like one of my two of my coworkers, when I was at when I was in my previous school, a couple times that job came over, and they was like, "Man, coach, why don't you put an application in?" I'm like, I'm a middle school head coach. What the heck make you think I could go up to the college level and be a head coach in the SWAC? And it was like, shh, and nobody else gonna want the job like Tom. But I'm like, dang, bro, really? And I'm like, coach, I told I told the dean at the time, he played basketball at Southern, and he ended up graduating from Southern, and he ended up getting his grad degree from uh from Alcorn, because he's from Mississippi. And I'm like, man, come on, man. Like, somebody got to want to go to Valley, you know what I'm saying? If you especially if you like a big name guy, like maybe like one of these NFL type guys, like Ed Reed or somebody. Of course, I told you this at the time. Like, after the Ed Reed situation, HBCUs ain't gonna want to touch him with a 10-foot pole, and you see how that worked out for him, bro. But
Yeah,
anyway,
you're right.
but anyway, but anyway, truthfully speaking, bro, like, that job is not highly sought after. So, you know, I, I don't know what to say. And some other breaking news also. And this, some of this stuff I'm telling you about is coming from. I'm in like 10 Facebook groups, HBCU Facebook groups, right? One of them SWAC versus MEAC. One Rough in the SWAC, another one SWAC in the Food. Shout out to them, because they got, not only do they have their own YouTube channel, but they got their own Facebook group. One of them is basically saying that word on the curb is, the rumor mill is, North Carolina A&T and Hampton is headed back to the MEAC. If that's the case, bro, what are your thoughts on that particular
They need
development?
to. They getting smoked. They getting smoked, man. And they're North Carolina A&T's in the Big South, right?
Something like that.
Anyway, they getting smoked, man. So yeah, they need to come back to the MEAC and
Yeah,
let them continue to play HBCU ball, man, because they're what it was, man. They've been dominant in the MEAC for years. They always been um, beating up on their little brother, North Carolina
Central.
Central. But lately, these past couple of years, that hasn't been the case. Central been having a number. So and on top of that, they've been getting drug in their conference play.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
1-11, man. The CAA, that's their conference. I'm sorry, the CAA.
And bro, and me and you had this conversation at the time. Like, we were saying, for these HBCUs that want to join these PWI conferences. Like, bro, like, why you always think the white man's ice is colder? Like, come on, bro. Like, what are we doing? Like, why can't you be content with, being dominant in your league? Maybe you go over every once in a while and play like a Southern Conference team, or whoever. But you come back home after that, bro. You know what I'm saying? And I ain't gonna lie, bro. I hate to say it. If they do come back to the MEAC, I hope it's a long time before they get back to winning the MEAC championship. I mean, hey, I think they need to get the break beat on for a little while so they can learn a lesson. I mean, that's my personal
I
opinion.
agree. I agree, man.
And
I
not only
agree.
that, but of course, evidently Hampton had some issues in terms of they had to forfeit some games and blah 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 blah. So maybe they won't come back to the MEAC. And I'm not gonna lie, I think it'll help the MEAC overall if they added Hampton and they added North Carolina A&T. So we'll see.
Yeah, they went to that same conference, CAA,
Oh, hey,
and they
uh,
beat North Carolina A&T 59-17. They beat the brakes out of North Carolina A&T.
yes, Andy. Yeah. So it's crazy, bro. At the end of the day, uh, I mean, you got to make smarter decisions when it comes to, jumping in and out of conferences, so on and so forth. I mean, that's just my personal opinion, you know what I'm saying? And the last thing we're going to talk about in a roundabout kind of way, but, we already kind of addressed it a little bit. Like, a lot of members of Jaguar Nation, they've kind of been, like, not happy with all of the all of the Southern University players that has entered the transfer portal. But the thing about it is these players that entered the portal from Southern, like Tyler Kirkwood, like Kobe Dillon, like they've been at Southern for 4 years and they no longer have any eligibility, at Southern. So they can't maintain their scholarship, so they have to enter the transfer portal and find somewhere else to go. So, for the exception of Zay, like most of these players are really, they not just willingly saying, "Hey, I'm gonna enter the portal." Like they've graduated. They might have a year eligibility left, 2 years of eligibility left, like Kobe Dillon, because Kobe Dillon was hurt 2 of them years.
Mhm.
So that's the reason why he entered the portal. So at the end of the day, bro, like, you know, I don't think it's as bad as people think it is. And not only that, but for you to bring in the kind of players that you need for your program to fill those holes defensively, to fill some of the holes offensively, like some of these players need to leave to make room so you can bring in the players you want. You know what I'm saying?
I highly agree, man.
Yeah, and of course, they got to commit from this player Caden, C.J. Jones, who went to Catholic High, and for individuals that don't know, Catholic High is a Catholic school in Baton Rouge, highly prominent school. So they already got a player from last year's state championship team that's currently on the roster right now, Barry Remore, running back. In fact, they got a few Catholic High players already on the roster. You know what I'm saying? Not only that, they got a commitment from. Let me see, got a commitment from Southern University lab running back uh, Ar- Armanian Asbury. A lot of people think he could kind of fit that. We always talk about they need a power back. Some people, of course, Southern University Lab School is literally on Southern University campus, right in Southern University backyard. So a lot of people feel like he could kind of fit that role of of maybe like a Steele Adams, of a Lionel Nicholas, of some of these power running backs that Southern really haven't been known for over the years. So a lot of people feel that he could kind of, I'm not gonna say be that guy, but kind of fit into that role more so than other Southern University running backs, of the past. Because like I say, Southern's prototypical running back is more of a third down type running back. Of course, they come in different like forms or whatever, but for the most part, it's kind of like the same type of mold and fit. And not only that, but I mean they've uh they've also added a couple offensive linemen for the most part. They did get a running back from Zachary High, uh, and of course for those individuals that don't know, like Zachary High is like 15 minutes up the road from Southern. It's not that far. They also got a commitment from Tyler Junior College transfer 3-star offensive lineman. His name is Xavier Warrell, 6'7", 295-pound offensive tackle from Houston, Texas.
Mm.
So, excuse me. So, it's moving a little bit slow. Oh, salute to our brother Brent Fox. He said he real late, brothers, and LDBC family. Man, we appreciate you, Brent Fox. But for the most part, Southern kind of taking baby steps. Of course, a lot of members of Jaguar Nation, they complaining that they lost a lot of players in the transfer portal. That's merely for the fact that all of these players have been at Southern for 4 years and they no longer have eligibility at Southern, so they have to enter the portal. And they're taking baby steps in recruiting, but you know, I talked to my good brother Jay Good behind the scenes, and he another one. He's really not content with Southern has been doing from a recruiting standpoint. Whereas if you look at a team like Jackson State, bro, I'm not gonna lie, there's this phrase, the rich keep getting richer. I ain't gonna lie, it kind of seemed like Jackson State gonna be the team to beat again next year. So just from what you've been seeing so far in terms of the transfer portal and just recruiting in general, like what are your thoughts and what do you think other SWAC teams like Southern can do to close the gap between themselves and Jackson State? Like, what are your thoughts?
Not gonna lie, it's gonna be hard because Jackson State got that juice right now. They just won the Celebration Bowl, um, and Dion. When he left TC Taylor, already damn good coach in a very good position. So they got the juice right now. It's gonna be hard, but they have to do the recruiting. They have to go in the portals, even look in these Division 3 schools that may have hidden jewels, and just find the talent, man. And it's, of course, going to be easier said than done, but hey, it's possible.
Yeah, and on one of social media platforms, like one of my subscribers, they asked me this question. One person asked me this question here on YouTube. Another person, on Facebook group, and somebody else on X. They was asking like, "Hey, do I think it's possible for Southern to close the gap between themselves and Jackson State, and not only Southern, but just other SWAC schools or just HBCU schools in general?" And I think it can be achieved first and foremost, because truthfully speaking, there was a time where Coach Pete Richardson, dean of the SWAC, where he recruited. I mean, he recruited all over the place, but his primary recruiting base was the what we call an I-10 corridor from Baton Rouge to New Orleans. Then he recruited the river parishes like St. James and East St. John and West St. John and Destrehan and Harmville. That's how you got players like Austin Howard and Bryant Lee. And he would get some players from like from North Louisiana, from like Grambling, from Monroe. But for the most part, that I-10 corridor and getting transfers from across town, because the landscape was different. If you were buried on the bench or on the depth chart at LSU, since LSU was 1A and Southern was 1AA, you could literally transfer and you not have to sit out a year. So, that was his primary base, getting not a bunch, but some players from LSU, a few of them, like Mike Hayes, like Jermaine Sharp, like Nemesis Bates, like Chris Cooper. It'll only be like maybe a couple every couple of years, but those guys were impact players, you know what I'm saying? But with the NIL and the transfer portal, like at this point, it's the wild, wild west. And I think from a recruiting standpoint, you kind of have to have a balanced approach. You have to get some players from high school, you have to get some players from the JUCO ranks, and you have to get some players out of the portal from PWI to Power 5 type schools. I
Mm-hmm.
think it has to be a balanced approach. I don't think you could go all in on high school players. I don't think you could go all in on JC players or players in the portal. I think you have to kind of balance it out. One thing I say about Southern, I think they kind of been doing a good job over the last couple of years in terms of having a balanced approach. But if you look at some of the players that have been getting in the portal, like Dylan Moroder, he didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? So I think they have to hit on more of those players as opposed to missing. I think Southern gonna be straight, but I still think it's gonna be difficult to close the gap between themselves and Jackson State, and not only Southern, but I think schools just around the SWAC in general, because I think there's a little bit of a excuse me. I think there's a little bit of a ripple effect from Dion leaving the program, because TC Taylor has been able to put together a good staff. Not only that, but he's been able to recruit well. So I think as long as he can keep all his coaches intact, and he can keep recruiting the way he's recruiting. I mean, I think at this point he's found a rhythm, he's found a groove, and he not only that, but he has like he shaped the team in his image. I'm just kind of give you an example, right? If you
Mm-hmm.
told me, Coach, uh, put together like your ideal defense in 2025 for the SWAC, based on what you already have at Southern, like what would you do? I say, all right, if I could keep like Herman Bristol the third, you got him at safety. You got Kelby Gibbons at defensive end. That's a good start. So I would try to get like a Vince Lance, Jordan Lewis, Kendall Shello, Joe Williams type defensive end that could wreak havoc. Maybe even a Taj Brown type that could be opposite of Kelby Gibbons. Then I would try to get two slop hogs in the middle, uh, that could really be aggressive. Like Coach DeMarcus Miller. He was such a dog at Southern. He was only 5'10", 5'11", but man, he was so dominant. If you get two defensive tackles like that, get those two ends, two bookends, get a bookend to go opposite of Kelby Gibbons. Maybe you get two linebackers that kind of play from sideline to sideline. Maybe you get like a defensive back like a Lenny Williams. You get you another defensive back like uh like a John Williams. Uh you get those type of defensive backs. You get like maybe like a Jordan Carter type, Aeneas Williams. I'm sorry, Jordan Carter or Sean Wallace type safety slash linebacker that maybe could play in the slot. And maybe you got like Herman Bristol the third. You playing your free safety. I think with that kind of defense, that 4-2-5 type of defense, you have enough versatility to be able to stop the run, and you'll be aggressive enough attacking the pass. You know what I'm saying? And I think the same thing from an offensive standpoint. I think if you can make Jalen Woods, he is a polished pocket passer, but if you can keep him healthy and your offensive line can keep him upright, you get, maybe like because you were saying this too, like Southern needs maybe like a possession type receiver. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
you could get somebody like a Michael Hayes who was just so dominant with the 50-50 balls, being at the time he was 6'5", like 215-ish, 210-ish, 220-ish. He would fluctuate from that because, I had some classes with Mike Hayes. Or maybe you could get like a Gerard Landry. People don't know who Gerard Landry is. Gerard Landry is Jarvis Landry's older brother, right? So if you get that type of physical specimen at wide receiver, maybe you could get like maybe like a Willie Quinn type in the slot that could also return punts or kicks. Maybe even like a Kenyatta Sparks or Fred Bailey. One of those kind of guys that's dominant in the slot that could also be a punt and kick returner. Maybe you get like a speed guy like a Mike Jones that could take the top off of defense. And then maybe you could get a guy like maybe like an August Petrie the third, or maybe like a James Vernon. That's a speedy guy. And you could have like that combination of wide receivers, and maybe you could get like a good Lenard Tillery type running back, and maybe some, because that's one thing Southern really lacking. Like they really haven't had in the past. I mean, they really had in the past. They've had this in the past, but like this year, last year, they really haven't had like a dominant offensive line. Southern's offensive line has been dominant over the years. So when I talk to these guys like Melvin Williams Jr. and Lindsey Scott Sr. and Lenard Tillery, and I talk with some of these guys like Ryan Lewis and Gerald Holmes, like they've had dominant offensive lines. That's why you got all of these like Southern University backs with all of these yards. Even if you go like a three-headed monster like they had this year, it started with the offensive line up front. So if you get that offensive line, you get some dominant skill players, like I said, on the perimeter, and you get you a back, I say a good stable of backs. Because I ain't gonna lie, I think they got a good start with Barry Remo. I think they'll be straight. I think you need a couple power backs to add in with your speedier backs. But I think they could be straight. But I think they got to have a balanced approach to recruiting. And I think overall, Terrence Graves need to keep doing, a better job in terms of recruiting and closing the gap between himself and Jackson State, and just kind of taking it one step at a time. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like with Merlin A, and I think he came in later, but I was talking about how Chennis Berry brought over a lot of Division II talent from Benedict, but them boys can ball. So a lot of them dudes are juniors and sophomores he brought over. So they're gonna even they've got a very good chance of basically doing the same thing next year, being a very good team in the MEAC again because they got a lot of games under their belt. So that's where recruiting comes in. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see how things play out in the
just using it
HBC.
as that example, I just versus a good coach that's because some coaches, um, and I forget the dude's name from PWI, but when he took another job, he didn't hardly bring no players along with him, the good ones as well. He just took the money, just said screw all y'all. But that's why I like coaches like Kenneth Berry, even though he was going from a Division II to a Division I school. He realized that players like Eric Phoenix and them other guys could play in Division I HBCU, and they showed they could.
Yeah, and you got to realize most head coaches, even if they were assistant coaches that got promoted to head coach, they won't bring their own guys in because I remember when Sean Payton came from the Cowboys to the Saints, bro, he brought in so many of his own players, like like Terrence Copper from the Cowboys at the time. So, and Merlin A, he said we just got two NFL sized offensive tackles. What do y'all think about it? Yeah, I talked about it how they got the guy the JC guy. He like what
6,
6'5",
7, 6.
six.
I
I'm
think.
sorry, 6'7". Yeah, six
Yeah.
seven, 295. And I'm not gonna lie, I like what they're doing up front in terms of the offensive line. But like I say, you know, they need to get more game breakers in terms of like dynamic wide receivers that could make plays in the receiving game and in terms of punt and kick returners. I say this on my channel all the time, like guys like Fred Bailey, like Kenyatta Sparks, like James Vernon, like Willie Quinn. They need to bring in some of those kind of guys. And I just kind of talked about in terms of maybe you need like a big guy like a Micah Hayes or like a Gerard Landry that could be kind of a possession receiver type that get 50-50 balls. Maybe you get a speed guy like a Mike Jones that could take the top off of defense. And maybe you get a couple guys that could work in the slot, like maybe like a James Vernon, like a Willie Quinn, like a Kenyatta Sparks, like a Fred Bailey, those kind of guys. Yeah, and you get them a few good running backs to work with. But I like the size on the offensive line. It really needs to play out because that's one thing I pointed out to my brother Jared Levin Green when Southern had like these running backs like uh like Lindsey Scott Sr. who rushed for 1,000 yards, the P. Richardson first year there, Melvin Williams Jr. Like they were dominant up front, you know what I'm saying, with the offensive line play. I mean, even look at a few years ago when they had Dallas Black and Jeremiah Stafford, like we can't think of the last time Southern, except for Eric Dooley's first year there, where they had like a couple like rock solid offensive linemen where you'd be like, hey, I know these two guys gonna dominate. If don't nobody else dominate, and we can run behind this guy, we can run behind that guy. We need to play. Southern hadn't had that in a few years. You know what I'm saying? So they need to start up front offensively, and that way you can keep somebody like a Jalen Woods healthy. Because I'm not gonna lie, we talk about how Zay had a lot of upside potential. Jalen Woods has a lot of upside potential. I think Zay would be more of a dual threat aspect of it, whereas somebody like like Jalen Woods, he's more of a pocket passer. He can kind of be like a Austin Howard type. You know what I'm saying? And salute to our brother Jay Barr. Salute to you, bro.
Salute. Always supporting.
But yeah, but I mean, I think it's not like I mean Jay State doing good, TC Taylor doing good, but it's not like they are undefeatable, unbeatable. I mean, he really in the groove right now. And just to think about it, we were saying the same thing about Willie Simmons last year, and he ended up taking the job. Ended up working out for him because congratulations to him also. He ended up getting a job at FIU. So congratulations to Willie Simmons. He doing his thing at FIU so far.
Yeah, man. Congratulations, man, and I hope
Man,
he does
hopefully,
well, man.
hopefully he can make a big impact. And hopefully he could you know, do his thing. Oh yeah,
Same
Merlin.
thing.
Yeah, I'm
Right.
not
Go
gonna lie.
ahead.
You know, to kind of piggyback off of what Merlin A was saying, that's the thing that separated Jalen Woods from Noah and from ZT set. He goes through progression quick. He makes quick decisions. He makes a good catchable pass. He throws a good catchable pass. So that's why like Jaguar Nation was like, he's clear cut the number one quarterback of the guys in the clubhouse. And the only reason why he really didn't start in the SWAC championship game because he had a concussion in the Bobby Classic. But other than that, I think Jalen Woods has a lot of potential. And I was saying, a lot of people don't know Angelo Izzard Jr. He has a lot of upside potential too. He used to be, starting quarterback at Southern Lab, which is on Southern University's campus. The lab school, high school. He went to Tuskegee. He redshirted. He came to Southern. So they have two quarterbacks in the clubhouse, and from what I'm understanding, they offered a quarterback from UAB a scholarship, from what I heard. But that is what it is. But we getting ready to shut it down because we getting ready to transition from HBCU Fanatics to my brother Jado Levin Green's channel in the Southern Baller Show.
Yes, sir.
We're gonna talk about some college football, some NFL football. But we appreciate everybody that came through. Motivation to be a millionaire. Salute to you. Always coming through, always showing love, always showing support. Salute to Relaxing Calm Rain. Motivation to be a millionaire and Relaxing Calm Rain. I put links to their two respective channels in the chat. Y'all go check them out. If you like rain videos, Relaxing Calm Rain. If you like motivation and inspiration, motivation to be a millionaire. So go check out their two channels. Adrian Crook always showing love. I always see Adrian Crook all throughout the HBCU landscape. Man, we appreciate you, Adrian Crook, always showing love, always showing support. My brother Brent Fox. Salute to Brent Fox. He said he real late, but brothers LDBC
Brother
family.
Brent,
Salute to your brother Brent.
you good, man?
Merlin A came in. We appreciate you, Merlin A, for dropping in, showing some love, showing support. We appreciate you to the highest. And our brother J Bar always coming through, always showing support. Salute J Bar. We appreciate everybody that came through, that showed love, showing support. Come drop in and check out HBCU Fanatics. We getting ready to transition over to my brother Jared Lovin Green's channel. Y'all come over, check us out. We're gonna talk about some college football, Power 5 college football playoffs, NFL. So come over to his channel, check us out. We're getting ready to kick it off. We appreciate everybody coming through, dropping in, showing some support, showing love. I appreciate all the new subscribers and all the new supporters. Everybody's been rocking with us since day one. Everybody that just subscribe to the channel. We appreciate y'all. Y'all have a blessed, phenomenal
Yes, sir.
evening. Happy holidays to y'all. Merry Christmas to y'all. And peace and blessings. We'll catch y'all on the rebound. Peace.
Yeah, have a blessed one.